Hello, I'm Alex Raikes, Voscur rep from Surrey, and I am the Voscur rep on the Safer Bristol Partnership Executive Board. So I'm reporting back on the latest meeting, which was on the 28th of May. Key issues that we talked through, firstly, was looking at the Home Office Partnership Support Programme, which is looking at doing a national pilot. Bristol's taking part in that, and it's really looking at how they can support crime and disorder partnerships in a consistent way. Bristol was assessed, came out with quite a few recommendations, particularly from our point of view around engaging better with communities and being more transparent about how they commission services. That's now been signed off because an awful lot of the recommendations have now been not necessarily fully achieved, but they're well on the way. But the Home Office are very keen to stay in touch with Bristol, how we progress, because they want to look at a national toolkit coming out of that. We then fed back on the Safer Bristol Day of Action, which took place in May, I think it was early May, and that was quite a new initiative, which was a cross-city day of action, meant to be cross-partner, trying to reduce crime, increase safety awareness, and try and get engagement from the public on this agenda, and raise awareness of Safer Bristol as a partnership. And there was overwhelmingly positive feedback on that from Brandon Hill Associates, who are the consultants working particularly on publicity of the partnership. But I did raise that in the report they've drafted on this day and in their feedback there isn't really enough mention of the voluntary sector participation on the day of action, which was quite significant. And also I suspect very useful at increasing engagement. So that was taken on board because they want to run more of these days of action, and I think overall they're very keen to really promote the voluntary sector in the future around those initiatives. We talked about, in general, performance around crime data and how Bristol in general is performing against its key national indicators linked to crime, drugs and community safety. Overall, Bristol is really significantly improving against its other core cities. Quite significantly. It's gone from being one of the lowest performing cities and one of the least safe cities to being a much safer city and being more in the middle. There was two key areas that are not doing so well. One is getting adults into drug treatment, but they're not sure how much is to do with poor gathering of data and how much is to do with adults genuinely not getting into treatment. So they're looking behind that. They think it's probably a bit of both. And secondly is that we've got an issue around young offenders getting engaged in suitable education, training and employment, and that is really beginning to be flagged up as a significant concern. And they hadn't really got the answers yet, but there's research going on around that. In general, crime is down for Bristol except shoplifting and theft of pedal bicycles, which is partly to do with Bristol really becoming a cycle city. There's a lot more bikes around, and there are now quite a lot of strategies being put in place to address both those two crime concerns. Violent crime in particular, though, that is down, which is good to know, I think, for Bristol. Another significant development is nationally there is now a new duty for local authorities to have a new crime disorder scrutiny arrangement, bringing together elected members and statutory sector partners to scrutinise crime disorder across local authorities. Bristol has had a duty to do that since April 2009. It's in development, and I really did raise that if they want to have true scrutiny, they must engage well both with voluntary sector and making sure they link in with all other scrutiny arrangements already in place around crime and disorder. And I also asked them to really think about how they look at community cohesion as an issue at the same time, because that is very interlinked. That was backed up by a number of members around the table and hopefully will be taken on board. We then moved on to look at the prevent agenda, which Bristol has quite a well-developed strategy around called Building the Bridges, or Building the Bridge rather. Bristol has done a self-assessment against all the recommendations from that strategy, and we're scoring overall 3 out of 5. we are seen as doing quite well as a city on this agenda, and in fact our strategy is being cited as national good practice. We're very keen to actually do away with the term prevent and move more to this building the bridge title to our strategy and objectives. So to finish up, we had a brief discussion on the fact that alcohol may well come into Bristol's Safer Bristol's partnership. At the moment it's just crime and drugs, and they're looking at whether they bring in alcohol as well.